Well, typically it all depends on what the income is because if we were agents, say signed on to a Keller Williams or a Wykert franchise, okay, those checks would be made out to the company.
Correct.
Okay. And then typically it all depends on what the split is that you agree to with your broker. I mean, sometimes it's a 70-30 split, sometimes it's a 90-10. It all depends on
between 25 and maybe $40.
Yeah. $35-$40. And the funny thing is when Janet started doing this, she was with a small local company, and she told the broker what she was doing, and he kind of laughed at her and said, "You just keep all of it. Don't worry about it." Well, little did he know that she was going to be doing hundreds of them a year. So
nice, good for her.
Yeah.
We depend on these BPOs to give us a property value from people who may know real estate, but most likely you've been in the REO development. Are most of these BPO agents investors, knowledge about real estate, or are they plug and play people? Which, from what you've talked to, what are majority of people there?
A lot of the people that we've run into who actually are BPO agents are real estate agents who are filling out the forms. Okay. And I would say this is probably 70-30 split. Okay. There are folks who have seen BPOs as an income source, something that they can do while they're slow or not showing properties, because, you can accept or decline them. You don't have to take them. So when you're slow, you can accept BPOs. If you're not slow and you're out, ramming the roads and taking buyers or sellers around, then you don't have to take them.
Sure.
Whereas I know a lot of REO agents, and we may have some on the line today. I know a lot of REO agents take it very seriously, take it as a bolt-on to their business, but realize that the quality of the BPO going out is going to be reaching some of these folks who are making decisions. And if your name and your number are on those BPOs, it's a possibility they might pick up the phone like they did with Janet and say, "Hey, you know what? We've seen a lot of your BPOs come through. Can you handle the REOs for us?"
Yeah. And that's a flip side of where, the argument is, like Nathan says, go back to the seller and say, you're valued way off.
Yeah.
And it's like, here's my BPO. And it's like a battle of the BPOs, right? As most people know, I do my darndest not to order BPO unless I direly need to. And that's because I don't have anyone in a local area. A lot of parts of Texas are very rural. It's real hard for me to get agents down there. But let's flip it for a second.
Sure.
You're a note investor. Would you, percentage-wise, how often would you trust ordering a BPO? And is there an alternative way, say, to find out a value, a knowledge about the property area that may be different from ordering a BPO that may be more successful?
Yeah. Well, one thing is sometimes I'll order a BPO if it's in a suburban area. Okay. Because I think as we were talking about earlier, you get out in the country and you get out in the woods, your comps might be 20, 25 miles away. Okay. Some of the comps might be across a river. Some of those larger border type things will affect evaluation.
Yeah.
Okay. If I'm in a suburban or an urban area where I know that there's going to be comps within half a mile or, 5 blocks, heck yeah. If I need a good solid pinpoint valuation, then I'll do it. But the other way around is if I've got a 2-year-old BPO that says, it's worth $100,000 and I'm not real worried about it because that note I'm investing in has a price point of $20,000, that thing could fall 50% and I still wouldn't be worried. So, it all depends on what you're looking to buy, what the valuation is, and what your investment is to the value. The higher the investment to value, the more I'm going to really consider getting a BPO.
So in that case, if it's an older BPO, and like you say, there's a giant spread, and I've certainly seen those, In
Yeah.
that case, I'll take it, but I'll still call that agent and just let him know what I'm doing, first of all, because
Certainly.
it's somebody that I can use potentially.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Lean on real estate
Absolutely.
professionals, heck,
Good ones have all kinds of contacts.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And one little trick that you can do, okay. I don't know if you know where HUDhomestore.com is. It's a HUD property, the government HUD.
Mhm.
That's where they list their properties for sale. Okay.
Sure.
If you're in a suburban or, a fairly populated area, look on the HUD Home Store and see if somebody is a listing agent for HUD. Give them a call and say, hey, if I'm looking at this property in this area, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. If it was in REO condition, it doesn't have to be great. Do you see this going for $88,000? And typically they'll tell you yes or no, because they're probably pretty experienced in that area.
So Ivory Hill comment, I sent it to Nathan, and it's a little bit lengthy. Ivory, I appreciate you chiming in here. They said he did his master's in the subject of BPOs, and that even though an agent may get the order, they may send to the assistant depending on the fee, right? And that the quality report ends up being determined how much that money is going to be. That he had worked for, I guess, some kind of government agency, and that they would not, most of his work was for courts, and the district would not allow BPOs to be used at all.
Okay.
And I guess it's because of the history of it, of BPOs being sometimes fine, sometimes not. In court, you need factual all the time. And that's one of the things I stressed on, is that I know HUD very well. And what we used to do is we used to go to Zillow too and find REO agents who listed a house for a bank and get their information, which is why I went through that process of saying, okay, how can I collect all this data and compile and then put it into the portal? Like if you're looking for an agent, you can put 15 properties and every agent that pops up is an REO agent, because REO agents typically are not doing BPOs. Some are, some aren't, right? But those agents have a real estate knowledge and a directory of contacts, trash cleanouts, I mean, like that BPO agent would never have, or wouldn't bother even to take the next step. REO agents typically want to get on the phone with you and just talk for a minute. And the great thing about it is you don't got to explain to them what you're doing, because most likely they already know what you're doing.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. And they could be a huge resource for you.
Yes.
Okay. Typically an REO agent will know about whether the county or the municipality needs vacant property registration, or maintenance and upkeep on the sidewalks in the snow, things like that. Okay. Those REO agents will be familiar with that stuff. Whereas, I'm down here in South Carolina. I'm in Charleston. I deal with snow once, maybe every 3 years. Okay. Whereas Chicago, if you've got a property and you don't shovel the snow there, you might be looking at a fine. Who knows?
Additional fines in Chicago? No.
No. Can't happen. The
other trick I've done, making, tell me if you would do the same thing, is looking at other real estate investors, right? Reaching out to an investor local to the property and saying, hey, can you give me help? May they not be able to give you factual data, but they would give you some kind of local knowledge, like, hey, that's on the other side of the tracks, or that's near a really good area. There's a pocket of area that's really good. That's inside that area. That's a golden ticket. Don't worry about the comps, because those 4 streets at a property in Trenton, New Jersey are amazingly golden for whatever reason. And that local investor, you can kind of get knowledge of it that you would never get in a VPO.
Sure. Demographics is a solid key. As far as asking a real estate investor, what the valuation may be, I'm not sure I would go that far with an investor, but I would definitely ask them, hey, is this a gentrifying area? Is this a place where, people are going in, buying up properties, rehabbing them and flipping them or reselling them? That will give you an indicator of whether it's a good, strong demand in that area, or if it's just something that maybe you ought to stay away from because, there's not a lot of spread there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's amazing that we trust these BPOs to be golden, but there's so many holes in it that it depends on that agent.
Yes.
If you were to find an RU agent that you trusted, would you prefer to talk to them directly or order a BPO to get second opinion?